Hi, besties. Thank you for joining me today, Thursday, February 20th. Y'all, I can't believe it's already the end of February. It feels like it should still be January because it's cold as all hail here in Colorado. But we will be covering Summer House Season 9, Episode 2 today. But let me do a tiny bit of housekeeping. I promised I am covering Beverly Hills. In fact, I had the full intention of covering it today, and I have half of my notes done on the recent episode. But life, man, I feel like, have you ever seen that meme of someone saying, like, oh, person, you didn't say hi to me at the party. I saw you. And then it shows the kind of POV of what the person they're saying that to saw. And it's just like a big blur because they were drinking. But this is not the case for me. It just looks like that everywhere I turn. I'm feeling like a full-blown tornadic hurricane at the moment. So bear with me. I am hoping and praying, please God, that I will have time to both record and cover Southern Charm tomorrow, as well as catch up on the latest Beverly Hills. My ambitions are high, my time is low, and that is a very difficult place to be sometimes, but aren't we all? Okay, let's get into Summer House. We open with Carl walking in, or essentially out, to the backyard where everyone's at the pool. We have the tense music, like dun 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 dun, because it is going to be the first time we see Lindsay and Carl essentially greeting each other since what I would assume has been the reunion. Now, Lindsay is looking like she has absolutely no desire to see Carl's face. But yeah, he says hi to everyone and anyone except for Lindsay, who is on a little donut in her tube right in front of his face. In confessional, Lindsay's saying she doesn't blame Carl for not saying hi to her, but she also doesn't care. She continues by saying, his feelings and emotions are just not my issue anymore, so he can lean on somebody else for softness and tenderness and tighter hugs. Now, I would say right now, Lindsay is going to give 0 Fs about Carl this season. But we have seen the previews, and she absolutely is going to eventually give some Fs that maybe she didn't intend to give. Kyle ends up asking Carl about saying hi to Lindsay, and Carl says he wants to congratulate her. Oh, Carl, you're such a good guy. Sorry, y'all know I'm still Team Hub House. No, because Hub House was both of them. Excuse me. Yes, no, that was Rad House. Y'all, it's been a year. Excuse me. Okay. Anywho, Carl says in confessional he wants to say the exact right words to her, but he's afraid she's going to unleash everything she's been angry about, rightfully so, and that they were friends for a long time and he was in love with her. And y'all, I don't know. I feel like most of the things Carl says regarding Lindsay are very rehearsed. Okay. Uh, they just feel very planned out at this point, and it sounds clear here where he's saying, I want to say the exact right words. I understand the anxiety, and it's completely understandable. And I would probably have high anxiety as well. However, it's not like he's walking into Lindsay and her boyfriend Turner standing there side by side or in an embrace, and he has to go up and introduce himself to her new boyfriend slash father of her child. So, just saying, I do have a lot of empathy for him, but at the same time, a lot of this kind of was his own making. If he had just been straight up and honest with her from the get, maybe it wouldn't have been so contentious, you know? And maybe if he hadn't called the cameras in to just bam, say we're done. So the boys are all going to get ready to go to the bar together. And Jesse is at the back door. And Paige and Amanda are walking in and they're like, oh my God, look at you in your little terry cloth outfit. Just a little towel boy. Oh, he's just a baby. And immediately West walks in his hi, I'm from the Midwest camo t-shirt. And that's when Amanda cuts off her cutesy little, infantilizing type of talk and goes, oh, are we going hunting? Does the baby murder? And goes,
Oh, are we going hunting? Does the baby want to murder Bambi in his widow camouflage? Oh, where'd baby go? He's in camo. I can't see him, Kyle.
Paige says to Wes that it's not fun pants summer, it's fun top summer this year. And Wes goes, "Oh, do you think this is a fun top?" Paige goes, "For you, yeah." West, Paige just insulted you to Antarctica and back. And I think you only understand about 20% of that being a burn, but Antarctica might actually be a good place for that burn injury. So, you know, it worked. The boys pile into the car and go to the bar. And Carl is saying he feels the good vibes with it being just them, which West tells him that if he feels any kind of way about the awkward hellos with Lindsay, well, Ciara stiff armed him, trying to give her a hug. This is becoming a big fish story, what happened between West and Ciara whenever he went to say hello. First, it was a slap away. Now she Heismaned you. Sir, she gently took hold of the wrist on that was attached to the arm that was about to touch her without permission and laid it down at your side. Let's calm down. But Kyle says they're calling it the SWAT. My God, the men on this show are actually toddlers. Well, on most of the Bravo shows. Lots of big ol' feelings for these no fellas. Carl says he wasn't sure if he should have said something immediately at the pool or not. And Kyle says it was better he didn't because an immediate acknowledgement with the whole group right there would essentially seem contrived. But regardless, it's all contrived from Carl regarding Lindsay at this point because I just think he has no idea what to do with himself. Amanda and Paige are in the living room joking about whether Carl saw the giant sonogram on the mantle or not. And Amanda says that Lindsay being pregnant makes it kind of feel like they all are pregnant and as though she like needs to get her shit together now. And Paige just jokes, "Oh my God, should I do my taxes? Like, do I really need to get my shit together? I need to move to Charleston. What am I doing?" Well, hindsight. Paige says in confessional that Lindsay's pregnancy is actually giving her anxiety, which is so fascinating to me because it's kind of like when a girl wants to get engaged and she has a friend who gets engaged, and the girl who wants to get engaged, her boyfriend knows that the ring talk is about to get kicked up 200,000 notches with her talking about how her friend is planning her wedding versus how she wants to plan to do theirs. And instead of it being a female, this pregnancy is now going to be Craig feeling that way about babies. Paige says Craig and I started dating. Lindsay and Carl started dating. Then they got engaged. Then they planned a wedding. Then they called off the wedding. Then she got a new boyfriend and then she got pregnant and I'm still dating Craig. I'm feeling stressed that I have to have a baby and I don't want to do it. Hey, again, my friends, I feel bad for Craig. He's clearly heartbroken, but was he quite so blindsided? Got to ask that question. The boys are at this boozy brunch and they're telling Carl about how Jesse is in love with Lexi, or rather, that he's love bombing the shit out of her. And Jesse claims that he accidentally said, "This is the love of my life, Lexi," to Carl when he was introducing them. First of all, Jesse, you knew you said it. You were only saying you don't know if she clocked it just because she didn't acknowledge the immense love bombing. Wes says in confessional he's both surprised and not surprised that Jesse is hitting the gas pedal so hard on Lexi. 'Cause next thing you know, come on, Wes, he'll be asking you to be a flower boy in their wedding while sitting in a vintage car on the back lawn. Can't you see it now, Wes? But Wes says that part of him is not the part of him, excuse me, that is not all that surprised is considering that Jesse now is cancer free. He did say it's at a time when he can start looking quote unquote forward a bit without the cancer essentially weight dragging him down. Meanwhile, back at the house with the girls, the vibes between Jesse and Lexi are brought up, and her point of view on everything with Jesse is semi normal, while Jesse is both love bombing and making fun of it because he's a guy. How dare he actually be as interested in a female as quickly as sometimes females will admit that they are very much interested in a man? Okay. Lexi tells the girls that it's only day 2 and that she normally doesn't like to be touched a lot unless she's really into the person, and that she is finding herself wanting to hug him more and more. She gives us the rundown and confessional of her gorgeous parents. My gosh. Apparently, they've been together for 37 years and got married at 21. So they're really her standard on how love and marriage should be. Jesse tells the guys he can't say the last time he was this excited over a girl and that it's scary. And that causes Wes to be like, oh, yeah, what's scary about it, Jesse? I mean, they are going to give him so much hell over this. We already know it. And Kyle and Wes really are making fun of him and laughing at him because it's only been 24 hours that he has even known Lexi existed on this planet. And Carl ends up asking Jesse if he's even texted Lexi yet. And Jesse goes, I don't have her number, but I did DM her when we were in the car. And they are all just like rolling on the floor, laughing my ass off. Crying emojis. He then jokingly toasts to it being his last night as a single man. And he says to them that they know he's joking, but that he's also kind of serious. See, something about this really would have been very cute and adorable on Jesse's end if he didn't add in that element of the love bombing with it. But I will at least say this. I mean, how many times have we girlies literally seen a man we have never spoken to, don't even know his name, and he's immediately referred to as our husband amongst our friends? You know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's not just the girlies who do this, but I'm just saying, like, we all at least have had that friend or been that friend that were like, oh yeah, so I saw my husband today. Yeah, saw my husband at the gym. Saw my husband in the mailroom in the apartment complex. Did you speak to him? No, but we did kind of make eye contact for a second, and I feel like he was looking at my outfit, and I kind of noticed like a little smile when he saw my new pedicure because I was wearing my brand new shoes. Bailey, Gabby, and Lexi are now talking in the kitchen, and it's brought up that Bailey is seeing someone in the city but doesn't really have an exact notion of where they stand. And Gabby is like, well, he's coming to the party, obviously. And Bailey says she doesn't know now because he sent a weird message. Apparently, from what she says, this message only said, sorry, I have a lot of work to do. So, not so weird. It's just a brush off of I'm not coming and I'm blaming work, but whatever. Essentially, Bailey thinks this guy isn't happy about her having a good time, being at a house in the Hamptons with dudes there and all of that. And that it's also an issue that she isn't communicating much with him, not texting him back that much. And Gabby thinks that Bailey is in a relationship, but just doesn't want to say that she is. Like maybe Bailey wants to secure a spot on the show by hooking up with one of the guys, but we know she's not going to be on here that long. It's very bizarre how we're getting so much of her right now. And then we know at some point she's just poof gone. In the car with the guys, Lexi sent Jesse her number. Oh my gosh. So he immediately FaceTimes her and she asks him if he misses her. Like, because she's like, why are you FaceTiming me? But he says, sorry. Jesse. He's trying to save face in front of the guys, is what this is about. He goes, I didn't say that, but I do. And she tells him to come straight to her room for a big koala hug. These little junior high boys who may as well be going through their voice changing and, that time with boys where they catch a stiff one when they see a girl's elbow. Because Carl and Kyle and West and Jesse, for that matter, are all like, oh, OMG, 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 OMG. As if she said something like, you have a puzzle piece that fits my puzzle piece, so let's do jigsaw puzzles until 4 a.m. Like, sir, that still wasn't sexy, was it? And Jesse, for his part, is also very much a middle schooler who just realized that, oh my God, underneath a girl's shirt is a bra. And under that bra are nipples. Oh my God. Because he just goes, oh, okay. And they're all cracking up. Guys, you all are not virgins. What are you? Okay. Gabby goes into Lindsay's room and brings up the whole Carl of it all, basically saying, like, why did he come back to the house? And I'm so sorry. This was so funny to me. This was so funny to me. Gabby goes, him and his big ass teeth, his non-alc lover boy, he's literally contributing nothing to the party. And he's not like even going to pick up girls. And then she says in confessional, Carl coming back to the house is not a choice that I would have made, but I'm also questioning Lindsay a little bit too. I think both of them need to be checked out because, like, yeah, you were going to get married 9 months ago, but we're going to be in the same house again. You good? But after she says all of this to Lindsay, she just goes, whatever, it's not my business, and leaves. Like, honestly, it totally gave me all the vibes of that long running joke of sitting and talking shit with your friend for so long and then immediately just going, but that's none of my business. Who am I to judge? It was like in real time. The boys are drunkenly entering the home, chanting, koala, koala. I mean, Jesse and Lexi do a little notebook, the bachelorette style hug where he picks her up. And she koala hugs him, wraps her legs around him, and he tells her that he's a little drunk. And then he just immediately lounges onto her bed without invitation. Sir, I should have double checked. Did you at least take your shoes off? Do not get on my bed with your shoes on. Mm-mm. And he's essentially interrupting her, getting ready. He asks her what her J necklace is about, and she says her best friend passed away last year. So, very sad. He does ask her if she's doing okay. And she does tell us about this best friend of hers, Jeremy, in confessional. And while she calls him her best friend, I was picking up that they were more than that, judging by the photos and the video, but I could be wrong. You know, maybe I'm not getting the Gen Z dynamic of very touchy feely besties of opposite genders, if at the very least they're both straight. But anyway, this is heartbreaking to say the least. Losing anyone that's important to you is really going to just tear you up. And it sounds like this person was very, very close to her, but it's her reasoning for why she's so openly lovey-dovey and all of that. Jesse tells Lexi that he's pretty spiritual, and he starts telling her about the testicular cancer he experienced and how it was the surgery, then the second round with everything, it was chemo, and that he dominated that shit. And she just goes, yeah, you did. He says it was the best thing that ever happened to him. And God, you guys, he was so young, 24 and 25, both times he found out cancer was there and then still there. And she ends up saying to him, I'm glad that you're here. And he goes, oh, me too. That would suck if I wasn't, because like I wouldn't be able to be alive and like love bomb you. He didn't say that part. Okay, anyway. But then he says, want to make out about it? Oh boy, Jesse, if you were that into her, you wouldn't want to be that drunk when you kissed her for the first time, dude. Like maybe a little tipsy-ish just to give you some of that courage. Maybe not this slurry though. Goodness. She's just like, are you asking me to kiss? And I mean, at least he technically did ask for consent here, but you know, he gets 1 point. So they make out. And listen, if this is legit, I do think they make a really adorable couple. Lindsay goes into the kitchen and, oh man, it's about to get very awkward. You know, they have that very old saying that the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. But this awkwardness is so palpable. It would be like swimming through mud. I don't know. West is telling Lindsay that Jesse is pretty much nuts and how he's basically already in a relationship after 24 hours. And then West goes, is this what happens when you're 6'5"? And Lindsay says to him, hey, it works for some. It worked for me for many years. And because the camera immediately zooms in on Carl, who is pretending to be busy with making dinner, I think it's supposed to mean that tall guys have worked for Lindsay for many years, but Stravi wasn't tall, and I don't think she meant that tall guys have worked for her because Carl didn't. And I think she meant the idea of not just jumping into relationships, but rather plunging in nosediving into them. Kyle calls Carl out by asking if he's still salting the meat over there, obviously using that as a way to avoid Lindsay. But Kyle is a messy bitch this episode. My God. Lindsay moves on to go clean the table, and Kyle starts so obviously snapping at Carl to indicate he needs to say something to Lindsay. And Carl just sighs so heavily, like, God damn it. And he's wiping sweat off his forehead and just it's not going well for him. He looks like he's about to pass out or throw up. And he just goes, "Hey, Lindsay." And he says it in a way that seems like he's about to say something more to her, like he needs to tell her something. But she just goes, "Hey, Carl." He's like, "How are you?" "I'm good." Kyle is in the living room just salivating over this. Like the amount of drool coming out of his mouth could absolutely give them a second hot tub. Carl says, "I just wanted to congratulate you." She's like,
Thank you.
"Sorry, I didn't get to say anything earlier. I just figured I'd wait a second." And she tells him that's okay. It was a group setting. I'm sure you were nervous. I don't know if he was as nervous as he is right now, but he says, "Yeah, I was a little nervous, but I'm genuinely just happy for ya." And she just nods and he's like, yeah, sorry I didn't get a chance to say anything earlier." Kyle has completely just stopped pretending he's even doing anything other than watching his favorite soap opera, aka Lindsay and Carl. Lindsay says to Carl, "In all fairness, I did say on the basketball courts last summer, who knows where I'll be next summer?" Regarding her saying, "Who knows where I'll be? I could be pregnant next summer." And he just looks at her and says, "Here we are." And she tells him, "But thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, Lindsay, for calling Kyle out by saying, 'Kyle, why do you always have to pretend to be doing speaker stuff while you're listening? Eavesdropping in.'" He feigns this shocked face, but sir, you were not even a good 10 to 15 yards away. You didn't even pretend that you were busy or even interested in anything but what was playing out in front of you. Jesse goes to his room with West and messes with West, saying that he had the talk with Lexi. "Oh my God, did you explain the birds and the bees to her? I feel like she knows how it works, but what do I know?" And yeah, obviously he was joking. In Ciara and Paige's room, Ciara is telling Paige she really doesn't want to be here and that she'll cry, seemingly referring to the potential and inevitable confrontation with West. And Paige just goes, "Because of him?" And Ciara's like, "Yeah." Love that Paige can't fathom crying over a man like West, but okay. Ciara tells us in confessional that in December, she was actually having bad enough issues with her family that she didn't even spend Christmas with them. She went to Costa Rica and was not with her family for Christmas. And that West was the person she would tell these things to, and he was her person to talk to about these things. And the fact that he then went and did that interview, two of them, with the New York Times, that's, yeah, painful to say the least. And how he was just saying he didn't feel like they were meant to be together. Oh, God, you guys. Ciara starts crying, saying that that was really hurtful. I feel bad for her, honestly. Like, yes, we were all rooting for them because he seemed like such a nice guy at the time. But then when he did do the press stuff and then said F all at the reunion, seeing how emotional and hurt she was, and then seeing him doing things like running around with Brianna Chicken Fry. Yes, friends, I posted about that a few weeks ago. Not that many people noticed. I don't know why. Because Brianna put up a post on her TikTok saying that she was making out with someone in public the previous night and they had posted TikTok videos together with a group of people, but still the night before. So, I wonder. I mean, let me say this. I don't think West is the actual worst. I'm disappointed in him because it's the way he's handling it afterward. People get hurt in relationships. It happens all the time, unfortunately, especially when they don't work out. But it really ended up feeling as though he had other motivations once the cameras were gone. So, anyway, Carl tells Amanda and Kyle that he congratulated Lindsay on her pregnancy, and Amanda, she might have been starting to give him a teensy bit of a hairy eyeball when he says he told her he was happy for her, and she was like, "Of course." Now, I also adore Amanda so much, and I also think that if Lindsay had shown up engaged to Turner, let's say, it'd be a totally different reaction to Lindsay moving on this summer, and I think it would be that way for all of the girls, even though I really love those girls. I do. I feel like they're my friends. They don't know me, and they don't know that we're friends, but we are. Carl says in confessional, "I feel so much better. I said what I wanted to say. It seemed genuine." Okay, number one here, pal. This is where I feel the disingenuous attempts from you. You clearly were so very concerned about coming off genuine or not that at this point, you shouldn't have to be concerned about it if you were genuine. Now, do I also understand and 1000% acknowledge that would it be an easy situation to actually be happy for Lindsay? Yeah, no, that's it would be impossible for me. But don't try and convince us that it's not that. You can just admit it. And then it's his follow up with, "Now, I'm guessing I was beet red and shaking. It's very, please feel sorry for me. I'm just a helpless little puppy dog, and she's a terrifying bull mastiff on crack." But we cut over to Lindsay in her confessional saying, "Carl still and will continue to be terrified of me." And y'all, I cackled at that. I was cracking up. She's like, "Yeah, he's scared of me. Don't care. He's always going to be scared of me, and he should be." She says also that he's clearly going to be walking on eggshells with her all summer. And it cuts to Carl being all relieved that this conversation with Lindsay is done and over with. And he's saying he can just go enjoy his summer now that he got it over with and the door's closed. And then we immediately cut to Lindsay in confessional saying, "For me, on the other hand, I just don't care if he's there or not. I literally, physically, emotionally, mentally moved on. I can't get caught up in like this effing guy." Hey, girl, you are going to get caught up in it later on, though. Remember? Preview. She ends up accusing him of cheating on her. So now it's dinner time, and everyone but Paige, Ciara, Lindsay, and West are ready down there. So Amanda goes upstairs to tell everyone, "Hey, guys, it's dinner time." But she hangs out up there. West is going to talk to Lindsay about his issues, many, with Ciara. Lindsay tells him that she doesn't know the full story, but the fact of the matter is that Ciara got hurt in the process. And she says she got hurt because of your actions or inactions. Okay, girlies, you always are so hard on Lindsay when it comes to how she treats the girls versus the men. And guess what? She had your back, baby girl. She did. Lindsay ends up telling Wes to just tell Ciara he wants to get on the same page so they can both enjoy their summers. And he says it's good advice, but then he adds, "It's crazy how you're giving me advice when you're living in a house with your ex-fiance for the summer." I mean, you may as well just gone ahead and finish the sentence saying, "And like you're a shit show, Lindsay. So you're like the last person who would be giving advice on something like this. But like, no offense or anything, you're just so awful at relationships that it's wild you would even know anything about how to speak to anyone or socialize with anyone ever." Oh, Wes, you may as well have just said it at that point. Everyone downstairs is getting a little annoyed that no one else is down there and ready to eat this delicious looking steak dinner. So Kyle hops onto his $400 mic to announce to the cruise ship, "Attention, everybody. It's time for dinner. This is your captain speaking." Like, sir, and you spent $400 on that mic. I know they have a different set of money than I do, but my God, my God. They all sit, and West is the last one to show up. So Jesse's like, "Oh, West went home. He left." And poor Ciara, she must have been getting her hopes up about that only to see him walk right in and sit across from her. Lindsay leads a little toast/cheers to Carl for making such a delicious meal. Then Paige goes in herself to cheers to, honestly, how mature we are. Like the fact that we can all sit at dinner and it's like awkward, but not like super awkward. And West mumbles that this is the least awkward he's felt so far. And Paige side eyes him immediately and goes, I'm talking about you, without skipping a beat. And then she continues immediately into, I think we do a really good job. But they all agree, look, it's only Friday, friends. Only Friday. We've got an entire summer. Jesse points out that West and Ciara, look, they're sitting across from each other. It's cool. And Carl and Lindsay are still on opposite sides of the table. So Paige jokes, West and Ciara still can't make eye contact. And Ciara just goes, no, and I won't. Okay. Kyle, you messy Betty bitch. Oh my God. Messy Betty bitchy. Kyle looks at Ciara and goes, what do you think about his hair these days? About West? And she goes, it sucks. I mean, it's like, don't be so mean because then I can't like kind of hate on him for you. Don't be so mean. It was a little too much, to be honest. And I'm in agreement with why she feels the way she does about everything with him. I think there's even more to it that we don't know, but don't be cruel. Like, come on. You could have said, I don't know, I'm not paying attention to West's hair. He can figure his hair out on his own. I am not in the business of giving Westly advice. Like anything, you know? Okay. But Jesse's like, well, damn. And I thought it was awkward before. So Ciara just says, it's awkward because people want to like try to be nice and then they put out a lot of press about shit. But I think, like, keep the same energy as your articles and shit, especially your last one, the New York Times article. And that's when Gabby just goes, can I have the wine? It's just silent. Silence. I mean, I'd say you could have heard a pin drop, but surely, yeah. Ooh, she had every right to go in on him like that, but also, like I said, don't be mean. It's hard to be supportive when you're mean. Does that make sense? Ciara goes on to say that Wes should have considered maybe just sending her a text warning her he was going to do a second New York Times article. You know, the one where he says he didn't like her and should have said that at the reunion because it would have been something that read better as opposed to what he said or didn't say at the reunion. And then she tells him, I think that was such a beta ass move. Y'all, West cannot handle confrontation. And this is why I'm getting kind of annoyed because Ciara has every right to be angry. But I think her anger comes from not wanting to feel the painful emotions or tell him how painful this has been for her and that she clearly still has very strong feelings for West. But West, you got to grow up and face that you hurt someone and you need to allow that in. You don't have to enjoy fighting with people to understand that accountability often requires confrontation. I mean, it's a fact. Usually people don't want to take accountability without something bad happening or without being confronted with the fact that they did something that requires them to be accountable. Man, men. He just says they can have a conversation if she'd like. Weak West. Come on. It's not going to make me feel sorry for you the more you try so hard to play puppy dog. Stand up a little bit, own your shit, and then if she continues, then it's mean. She's already been a little mean, let's be real, but come on. Anyway, Ciara tells West, look, we're already having a conversation. I don't know what you're talking about, essentially. And Lindsay clarifies for West that you want to have a private conversation, right? And then Kyle, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm dying almost as much as Amanda is here because it's also hilarious. Because Kyle goes, selfishly, I would like to witness that. I mean, at least the man's honest. Am I right? Lindsay calls out Kyle for loving a good old eavesdrop. And Ciara says everyone's going to ask and get in their business anyway, so they may as well get it all out there right now in front of everyone, as opposed to this whole game of telephone. And West does a Shannon Bedore move and he just goes, perfect. You know what I'm talking about. Shannon, I will never forget you looking into that camera and just going, perfect. Ciara brings up how they met up together after the reunion, went and had drinks, and they were supposed to be kind of talking out what happened at the reunion and how she thought it should have been fine and settled at that point. But Wes says he thinks he's been so respectful. Dude, doing an article talking about it isn't at all respectful. You aren't Carl and Lindsay, who knew each other intimately for years and then broke up. I mean, that's different. They both, at that point, we have watched it play out for years. They each, in my opinion, had respective rights to speak on their relationship and the demise of it. They were going to get married. This is a totally different scenario. You were just making Ciara look like an asshole so people would stop calling you one, West. That's why people are putting you in a position that you have to be so defensive. Maybe stop being defensive and simply say, you know what? I screwed up. I'm very sorry. I want to make it up to you, but I know I can't. You're right. I was wrong. I regret what I did. You won't hear me say another word about any of this again unless you are the one having a conversation with me about it. It's so easy, you guys. But anyway, Ciara obviously and rightfully so disagrees with West on his thought that he's been so respectful about this relationship that they had or situationship, whatever we want to call it. She says that Wes cares so much about other people's perception of him and everything that went down between them. So instead of going and doing a public article interview about how he doesn't like her anymore, he should have just let a bitch know. Basically, so she could just move on and be done with it. Then she adds in, because Ciara's not done, she is so hurt that she is fuming. She tells him, so effing weak. That's a bitch ass move. He tells her that it's not what he meant for that to be. And she just tells him, okay, well, you're an effing loser. So anyway, eek. Again, Ciara, I think you are just so hurt right now. And it's going a little farther than I think you want it to. And we're going to find out later that that's definitely the case. I think and this is just armchair quarterback type of thing here, obviously, but to me, Ciara needs to see that she can be her authentic, raw, angry, hurt self, and that a man isn't going to push her away much in the same way that we've heard her talk about her father seems to have. Because remember, he went and got remarried after her parents got divorced, and I think she feels that because kids are so egocentric in a way that they can't help it. They believe everything's their fault. And so at this point as an adult, I think it's carried through for her. Again, clearly not a therapist, zero training, but this is just my perception. It's easier to psychoanalyze it from our lens than it is in the moment, of course. But anywho, Ciara says in confessional she's getting more pissed the more they talk, because if he could do all that press, he could have essentially come here prepared, and that he's giving her nothing to work with. And again, y'all, I just feel like she needs to at least have one moment of really just letting the beast fly, yell, scream at him, and then maybe she'll feel better. She needs to see, and this, I'm not saying this is right, but I believe that maybe she needs to see him hurt as much as she is before she's going to be able to move on. She needs to see him down and out for a minute. It's, my perception, I guess. Kyle and Jesse are saying they don't feel like any progress was made here because they, if anything, maybe regressed. And Ciara just tells them, like, come on, really, we've had way more intense dinners than this one. And Paige goes, no, like literally Carl and Lindsay were engaged last year and she's pregnant And she's like, I love the steak. Thanks so much. Then the conversation moves on to how Lindsay needs to finally take a shit because she's been so constipated being pregnant. I mean, y'all, it's true. It does happen due to ligaments and everything relaxing. You want to? It's so weird. When I was pregnant, I think, oh God, there are going to be people with dirty minds who are going to take this the wrong way, but don't do it. I, I think like even like your esophageal tract gets relaxed because your body's preparing for having to open up in ways that I never like thinking about. But anywho, and anytime I would be taking like a good long drink of water, I would immediately be coughing and sputtering it up because it would always go down the wrong pipe. Okay. That I made that so dramatic, but also don't you get your little mind in that dirty little gutter. Clearly mine's there too if I already thought of it. Love how all the girls go into Amanda and Kyle's room to rehash/discuss the Ciara and West confrontation and talk shit on West, while the guys all stay in the kitchen to rehash/discuss the Ciara and West confrontation and tell West
He's such a good baby boy who is innocent and didn't do anything wrong.
Kyle actually tells West, though, that he can't handle conflict well himself. Kyle, you may not handle or approach conflict and confrontations in the most mature and adult manner. However, you love conflict and you love the drama, Miss Ma'am. So please. Kyle and Jesse essentially tell West that the silence that West is giving isn't going to help him or make it all go away. And of course, West is going to continue to defend himself, which I do get, but still, he says in confessional, he's not here to tell anyone how to feel or react, but he knows he's not an evil dude who was out there trying to ruin Ciara's life, and that after all the backlash at the reunion, he was alone dealing with that, and he was just in full-blown panic mode. He says he was asked if he wanted to defend himself, I'm assuming from the New York Times, and that he thought it was a gentle article, but she read it and it didn't land the same. God, West. This is kind of where my point here too. You didn't prepare for the reunion. You clearly didn't prepare to be asked about Ciara in the interview, because if you had, you would have said things in a different way. And again, you made her look like a moron and like the asshole, and like she was overreacting and exaggerating the feelings, the snippet of a relationship you had contained, just so you wouldn't look like an asshole and a moron. That's not the way it works to make yourself look better. Now, on the other hand, the girls are in Amanda and Kyle's room telling Ciara that they thought she was so great and she handled it so well. And Paige just goes, there's nothing I love more than watching a man squirm. I mean, same, babe. Kyle grabs the mic to announce that it's time to pregame and go out. And all the girls get up like, ugh, fine. We're not done talking shit. And what, we have to like get out of bed again? And Ciara just gets up saying, God, I'm such a bitter bitch. Hey, it's okay. We've all been there. Everyone, including Lindsay, goes out to the club. And I have to say, I would have sooner died before going to a club when I was pregnant. And then we get like this shot of Kyle and Amanda touching tongues. Why? I don't want to see anyone do that, to be honest, but okay. The girls end up leaving early and they go back to the house, start making all their snackies and getting ready for bed. Ciara does tell Paige in their room that the sick, toxic part of her was internally saying to West, dude, I just cursed you out and made a whole scene, and let's make out. Ciara, my love, honey, get a therapist and work it out for yourself, because it's just, you're going to keep getting in these situations. And this is coming from someone who has been in therapy for 3 years. Thank you so much. Paige says to Ciara that you could literally only say this to me, and I so effing get it. And Ciara admits in confessional that she does want to hug West, be friendly, and that it's her gut instinct, but that she doesn't know if it's actually that West feels bad for how much he's hurt her, or if he's concerned about how he's going to look again. And that's a fair point, my love. That's what you have to ask yourself. because that man hasn't really shown that he cares that much about you. He's shown he doesn't mind making you look stupid as if to make himself not look like an asshole. And it's fair to wonder. I think it's something I would like you to consider a bit more there, Ciara, because you are beautiful. You're like the type of people who want to help others medically and be a nurse. I mean, listen, she is just like a cornered cat and she is scared of how this looks. I shouldn't say scared. She is hurting. That's really what it comes down to. It's like that wounded animal that feels cornered and just I'm going to hiss and put my claws out at you, but I may not actually bite you and scratch you. I think that's kind of where she's at. Again, why am I such an armchair quarterback right now? Am I always that way? I probably am. God, can you imagine what it's like just sit and have a glass of wine with me? So, tell me, what was your childhood like? And how did that make you feel? I swear I don't do that. I don't think I do. Do I? Jesus. Excuse me while I go reflect on that. I've reflected and decided
I'm just trying to help, and that's my opinion.
okay, anyway, the guys stumble in a few hours later with Jesse wanting to go get in bed with Lexi right now. But yeah, buddy, I'm sure you're just not wanting to come on too strong. He's going on about how cute her voicemail is to West. And God, he really is in love. Like, he may be love bombing, but I think he really does like her a lot. The next morning, Kyle tells Amanda he's super proud of Lindsay and Carl being able to sit at the table together and eat dinner. Then he tries to say to Amanda that it's weird Lindsay is pregnant before they are. Excuse me, sir. Why? Is it because Lindsay is not married and you are? I'm not even saying that Lindsay is fully ready to have a baby. I mean, let's be real. No one is fully ready to have their first baby. Even if you have tried for many years to have that baby, once it happens, you're like, oh, shit. But I'm baby. Y'all aren't ready, Kyle. And Amanda's response says she's absolutely not ready. And that's also absolutely okay. Amanda says that even if Lindsay and Carl got married, she thinks they would have been pregnant before the two of them. And in confessional, she says that, of course, when she was 19, she thought she'd be pregnant by 25. Didn't we all? Let's all collectively laugh and pat that late teenager on the little head. And then she points out that then at 25, having kids at 30, that's what sounds great. But then you hit 30 and you're like, maybe not because I'm baby. I'm baby. Thank you so much. And I so agree and I so get that. She admits that she's still focused on her own mental health and that she's more focused on finding a medication that's right for her and helps her just really balance things out rather than focusing on a medication that she could take while pregnant because she needs to be in a good place. And if you're not in at least a decent place before bringing life into this world, it makes it that much harder. Let's just say that. But I have to say, I applaud her for acknowledging what it comes down to. Pregnancy and motherhood does the most insane shit to you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And that's before you even get to the hardest part, which is raising a happy and healthy human, keeping them alive. Paige and Ciara are laughing about how they would have truly been devastated, though, if someone had said that their hair looked like shit the way Ciara did about Wes the night before. Yeah. I'm going to say Ciara should and probably will feel bad if Wes shows up with a completely different hairstyle next weekend. So it looks like it's a rainy day, and Kyle is determined to make this 4th of July rager happen. Kyle tells Wes that he needs to take an opportunity to talk with Ciara today, and Wes says in confessional
He doesn't want to have a conversation with Ciara because he's scared.
oh, you poor baby. Get over it. Have the conversation so that she will stop saying rude, mean things to you. I mean, I'm not saying that, he has to have the conversation so that he can not be insulted, but also it wouldn't hurt. Lindsay very pointedly says thank you to Carl for getting the bagels and then immediately announces she won't be there for the 4th of July party. because she wants to go back to the city to celebrate the big announcement of baby girl with Turner, her boyfriend. Again, armchair quarterback, methinks that maybe Lindsay was wanting to make sure that Carl was paying attention to her saying this, while also showing, look, I can be nice. I thanked him for the bagels. Carl says in confessional that he's really just like, thank God Lindsay's not going to be there for the party because he wants to act single, meet someone, Gabby's also going to leave because her sister is in town and they rode together. So apparently the house is going to be doing a battle of the sexes for which portion of the house has the best party time. Then Paige FaceTimes Craig. Y'all, I want you to consider your own internal misogyny as we go through this because I have so many thoughts. Anywho, she tells Craig about the awkwardness of the weekend so far with Lindsay and Carl and says it was less awkward between Lindsay and Carl than it was between Ciara and West. Then she tells Craig Ciara lit West up, calling him a loser, insulting his hair. And Craig is sad about Ciara and West and wonders if it's because they still like each other, chicken. And then he says, aw, they had so much promise. She's like, yeah, so much promise. And then she asks him if he's coming to New York City, like when's he coming? And he says he can't come until next week, but he's hoping she could come for a day or two to Charleston. And she opens up that Apple Calendar on her phone and girl is busy. Like almost every day has at least one little dot on it. So she's like, yeah, I can't come this week either, babes. Now, this is the moment. All the misogynistic jerk faces. Paige is going to say something that I'm sure you will still find a way to turn around on her, but I want you to remember this. Just because a man is ready, willing, attractive, successful, and wanting to have a family, marriage, babies with you immediately doesn't mean that you have to and that you are a horrible person if you are not ready. She makes some very important confessions here, and I have a feeling this is something she probably has said to Craig at some point, because if you're saying it in confessional for your show that will air on national television, surely, please God, tell me that you went ahead and said this to your boyfriend of 3 years as well. But she says in confessional, mark the day because I'm saying it. I feel a little bad for Craig because I'm a completely different person than the girl he started dating 3 years ago. I'm busier. I'm not around as much. I've changed my mind on a lot of things like marriage and moving and a baby. I'm not going to apologize that my life got busier and that I think differently on certain topics, but I'm also trying to recognize that I changed a lot. Okay, so guys, again, are we still leading with the blindsided narrative? Because we can feel bad for Craig and also believe that his ignorance to it might have been willful, or definitely was willful. It was a choice, okay? She tells Craig that she'll text him if any good gossip happens, which he absolutely wants her to do. Now Lindsay and Gabby are leaving, and West goes to talk to Ciara. He starts by asking if she's alone, which doesn't feel like a slightly creepy start at all there, West. And she's like, yeah, come on in. And he ends up asking, is this summer fucking awful? She's like, I don't think it's fucking awful. By the way, Drunk Drawn on Instagram did a kind of mean but funny depiction of him sitting shirtless with his little nipples out. They were like the third party in this conversation. She tells him she's moving forward, but he's like, well, last night doesn't feel like that at all. And that's a fair point of him to make. She tells him that it's because whenever she does say something, he has such a minimal response. And he says, look, we haven't spoken since December, January. And he also says that he thought they had closure and it was all ended and fine, but that the reunion was awful and he felt like he sounded like an idiot. Well, sweetheart, that's a you problem, not a her problem. But he says he's just trying to figure it out day by day and acknowledges he's not handling it in the best way. No, you're handling it like a 15-year-old boy who broke up with your girlfriend for no reason. She ends up saying to him, you could have been completely deaded coming into the house, and that it's about the press he put out after the reunion. Guys, it's, again, If you're going hard on Ciara at all in this, I want you to think about it this way. It comes down to the simple fact that he didn't say anything from what we understand that he said in that article to her face or even in a text message. And how it was so incredibly cowardly to not only talk about her behind her back, but he did it so very publicly. I mean, if someone went and told just one person that I was really into and that they didn't like me and they just felt like I wasn't the right person for them, that would hurt. But then take it up 500 notches and have it be the New York Times that they said that to, I would be embarrassed and hurt. And that's where that anger is embarrassment and pain. Telling you, there's something that, my mom has always said that anger comes from two places, fear and love. And I think she may not be in love with him or may not have been in love with him, but I think she loved him. Two different things. And the fear of looking stupid, the fear of not finding someone, the fear of this person that I was trusting being untrustworthy. Anywho, he says he's felt like he's been on the defense for so long that when someone gave him the chance to defend himself, he took it. But this is where she can point out to him that he cared so much more about what everyone else's perception of him was, that he threw out caring about her and this mutual relationship that they had. She tells him that the fandom and public don't know them and that they very much are all about you when you're up and kick you when you're down. Now, I don't totally disagree. There are those people out there, but maybe I'm just like, but I'm not like that. I hope I'm not. He admits he's learning that and that he does finally say, I fucked up. And then he says to her, I apologize for saying things that hurt your feelings. I'm not ever trying to effing hurt you. That's not my intention. And that if she knows him at all, then she knows he's not malicious. She says that she's now getting to know him in a different light and that it doesn't have to be this tone that they're in for the whole summer. And no, she's not cursing the day he was born, but Ciara does say in confessional that they were genuinely friends at first. And that's why it made it harder when it ended. She doesn't know if she can really be friends with West again. And I don't know, as they end their conversation, he kind of seemed like he was tearing up a little bit. And then he just kind of gets up and leaves. But y'all, next week we are going to be meeting Amrul, and we find out he wasn't there because he was at a sex mansion party. Danielle's also going to show up. I do like Danielle, even, we all have our things, but I do like her. Yeah, then looks like Paige and Kyle are going to be going at it. I predict we're not going to see the full brunt or full it's not going to be fully realized, this feud that the two of them are going to be having next episode. I believe it's going to be over the course of episode 4, 5, or else 5 and 6. That's my prediction. There you go. I also have been known to be wrong twice in my life. Jokes. Besties, thank you for being here with me today. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe. I feel like I was a little off my game today, friends. I'm sorry. I feel dizzy from all the chaos around me, but it's okay. We're getting there. We're always our own worst critic. Anywho, please be sure, leave a 5-star review and tell me why you like listening, because I read all of the reviews and they really warm my heart, and it really gives me the drive to keep doing this, to know that someone enjoys it. Also, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I said, they're all the same name, at Besties by Caitlin, Caitlin. Check out the Pop Culture Besties Etsy merch shop. It's all designed by yours truly. And if you check the show notes, there is a link to my TeePublic partnership, all of that. All right, my friends, I will be seeing you tomorrow for Southern Charm and Please God. Beverly Hills, otherwise Beverly Hills, will be done this weekend. I am doing my best to catch up. But you're my besties. You don't mind. And I appreciate you all so much for it. Okay, friends, have a good Thursday evening.